Right. So we have complementary and supplementary angles. Do you remember which one is which? Complementary adds up to? Nope. It's right to complement someone. Okay. It's supplementary is 180. Complementary, we've got our 90. Yeah. Often you will encounter a problem that has angles outside the triangle to be solved. You should try to find a straight angle or a right angle to possibly find the angle inside the triangle. So you're going to bring stuff from the outside. You're going to use that to bring angles inside of the triangle. Okay. So here's the first one. So the beauty is I still keep going sine law, cosine law every single time. I just kind of introduce new concepts here and there. So the captain of a boat sees 2 points of land. Point C, right, so this is the first point, is 1.8 kilometers east of the boat. Uh-oh. You need to know your compass rose on this one a little bit, but the diagram is there, so not really. North, south, right? West, east. Okay, compass rose. So if this is the boat, the captain notices point C, 1.8 kilometers east. So that makes sense, right? This is east. And point A, at a bearing of 12 degrees, what in the world is that? At a bearing of 12 degrees. Okay. Point A is at a bearing of 12 degrees. Well, that's the way they, navigation systems, like especially ships, they use bearings. Okay. If you want to look up here real quick, honestly, I've never seen this on an exam, but I just want to make sure you're prepared if that ever were to happen. North is technically 0 degrees. If you told a captain of a ship, head in a bearing of 0 degrees, the captain would know, okay, you want me to go straight up north, right? So this would be a bearing of 90 degrees, bearing of 180 degrees, you would go south. So you start here, and you kind of go around the clock like this. So this would be 270. So I'm just showing you the 90-degree increments. And then technically when you go back, what do you think it's going to be? A full circle? 360. So 0 to 360 are technically both pointing north. Don't worry about it too much, honestly. It's a bit overkill. But that's what it's saying here. If you're saying you're going at a bearing of 12, this is 0 right here. This would be true north. So 12 degrees is telling this captain we're going 12 degrees in this direction here. Okay, 12 degrees. Now, this triangle is the one we want. Okay, do you see a right angle there somehow? Anybody? Do you see a 90-degree angle? If you consider this point, look at this one, and this is the east line. This is the north line. Do you see? Can you tell that that's going to be a 90 there? Yeah. Now you can, right? So how could we possibly, if this is 12, then what's the rest going to be? How would we find this angle right here? We just take that away from 90, and then we have this angle. So angle B is going to be 90 degrees minus 12 degrees. Sorry, angle B. So angle B is 78 degrees. Aren't you excited about that? Isn't this cool? No. No. Flat out no. Okay. So now, using the fact that the north and the east line makes a 90, and we have the 12 degrees that are just outside here, we can actually find the rest here. This is 12. I would like another color here. Just highlight it up. Yeah. This angle right here is the 78 I'm talking about. Okay. So it kind of took away the 12. And now it just turns into a regular problem. Like, it was a little overwhelming maybe at first. Let's make a triangle out here. Just triangle ABC, okay? So now we just put the 78 in here, and the 2.5 kilometers go here. 1.8 kilometers there, voila, you have a regular triangle. You can actually forget about the original. Just forget about it. You have everything you need to know here. What is it asking? If points A and C are 2.5 kilometers apart, how far is the boat from point A? So if this is the boat here, it wants to know how far it is from point A. So this distance here is what we're not sure about. We don't know what that is. So this is C, and that's our question mark. So what law am I going to use? Sine law, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sine. Okay. Sine law, because I have a pair. So you go sine of 78 over 2.5 kilometers. By the way, you know what the most common mistake is on the exam on this one? Students would probably use, sine of 12. 12 is across this side, sort of. Let's just try that. Sine of 12 over, right? So you would lose a full mark if you missed that. That's what I'm trying to say here. But you would still get marks for using sine law. So you're at least don't leave it blank. That's what I'm trying to say. Can we solve for side C right now? Do we have the angle across from it?
No.
So we can't do that. Can we do something with the 1.8? Let's put it there. Let's just put it there. And what is it going to allow us to solve for? Angle A, which is a step forward, isn't it? Let's do it. So let's solve for sine A. That is cross multiply and divide, right? 1.8. Guys, remember, you're smarter than you think. When you think it's too hard, think again, okay? You can totally do this. Sometimes I make it look easy because I've done this many times and I have the answer key right in front of me. Actually, right now I don't, but you can do this totally. So if you do this right, you get 0.704 and just go dot, dot, dot. That's telling us you're using all decimals. Totally fine, by the way, if you do that. Then we're going to go shift, sine, and there's our angle, 44.77. Always two decimals. I know some teachers last year or in the years before would have said just round it to 45. Don't do it anymore, okay? Two decimals. Okay, so we've got angle A. If you have a highlighter, I'm just going to say this one is this angle up here. Okay, you found that angle up there right now. It's not really what we want yet. We're on our way there. So let me just box things in a little bit to kind of clean it up. I don't want you to mix things up. So this is one, and this is kind of one here. So now what can I do? Now that I have two angles, just find this one, right? Sum of 8, 1, 8 is sum of triangle. So I'm going to go angle C. I don't know if you can tell, but that's probably the only thing that's changing is that it's a few extra steps to get to the answer. That's it. So minus 78 minus the one I just found. Don't think of the weekend just yet, okay? Hang in there. Minus 78 minus 44.77. 57.23. And that is important, but not the answer yet. Sine, I'm going to start with the same pair that I used at the very beginning. That's the safest one to use. Now I'm going to use this angle that I just found. Okay, I'm actually going to go arrow, plug it in, right? Over side C. Finally, we get to solve for what we want to solve for, ultimately. And so it's cross multiply and divide. So C is 2.5. times sine of 57.23 over sine of 78 degrees. And we have, let me just do this here, 2.5 times sine of 2.15 if you round that correctly. So you can either ask Google Maps, right, how far is this, or you can do all of this. And 15 minutes later, you know the answer. All right. I will just make sure I write down distance from boat, because I circled many things here. 2.8. So now you're making sure that everyone knows that this is the ultimate answer here. And I will highlight that, okay? This is what we ultimately were looking for. All right. We'll do one more. I know some of you are like, most of you said the examples are just enough, but some of you were asking for a few more examples. So I think it's fair to do one more at least. Okay. A ship travels south from a port for 2 hours at 35 kilometers per hour. What in the world is happening here? Let's just keep reading. It then changes course and travels 20 degrees west of south for 3 hours at the same speed, so still 35 kilometers an hour. How far is it from the port after 5 hours of traveling? So we start here. This is your starting point. You travel this way. Okay. So we go 2 hours at 35 kilometers an hour. I don't know if you remember, I gave you this at the very beginning. I gave you this formula. If you want distance traveled, you just go time times your speed. Okay, so if you travel 2 hours at 35 kilometers an hour, how far will you have traveled? 70 kilometers. Okay. So we don't want speed or anything like that. We just want to know like the side length. And we know that this represents 70 kilometers right there. Okay. So we did all of this to figure out that. So then we turn here. So this is where we turn this direction. And it says that this here is a 3 hour stretch, right? 3 hours here. So we're going to go 3 hours times the same speed in this case. And that gives us 105 kilometers that you've traveled. Okay. So this length here is 105 kilometers. Okay, so the question wants to know, right, how far is it from the port after 5 hours? Because you traveled 2 hours this way, 3 hours that way. They really want to know how far the boat is from the port. This is the distance. So we're going to call this X question mark. We identify that that's what they want us to solve for. And this is where I want you to pay attention. This is this is somewhat new as well. But this 20, can I use this at all in my solving process? Is it inside the triangle? It's outside. What can I do? Do you see a straight angle there?
Yeah.
No, Mr. Dixon, it goes up and down. You always tell us the hat goes this way. But don't worry about it. This is the point where literally 3 lines meet. But only 2 lines, 2 segments make a straight line. And it would be this one right here. Okay. So we know that that's 180. So if this is 20, what's this going to be? 160. 160. So I'm going to go angle T is 180 minus 20. It is 160. Okay? Supplementary. You don't even need to remember supplementary angles like that term, as long as you know, okay, those two add up to 180. So we know that this is 160 over here. Now you use this property. This is basically the big new thing here that we're going to use quite often. Okay? We know now this angle inside here. So I would encourage you to make a little sketch here. So we're going to take that down. I'm just going to replicate this scenario as best as I can. This is 70. This is 105. This is 160. And this is my unknown. What law, if any, can I use here? SAS, yeah. SAS tells me that it's cosine law, right? So x squared is equal to 105 squared plus 70 squared minus 2 times 105 times 70 times cosine of 160. Please don't go SAS squared is equal to 105, because that just tells us, it's just for us. Like, it's like an internal way of identifying what's what. So SAS is cosine law. So that's all this is telling us, but I would like you to use the variable here that is actually in the question. I get it, but the province doesn't. So you gotta sometimes just pick your battles. So I type all of that in, cosine of 160. You get a huge number. See that? Don't worry about it. These are big numbers that you're squaring and adding, so it is natural that that's going to happen. Okay. So take the square root. So x is equal to, take the root. That's 172.45 kilometers. There you go. Okay. I'm going to just give you a little note on down here, and then we're done, I promise. How's this going to help you? Write down other scenarios, but they're similar to this one. This one is the more popular one, actually. Supplementary angles is the most popular one. You may have something like this, where there's a tall building, let's say. I don't know, windows and doors. There we go. There's the ground. It may be that someone is out here looking to the top. Okay? And then that person walks a little closer to the building and looks up again to the top. And let's say the question says that the angle of elevation is 50 degrees. You're with me, right? Sort of. If this is 50, how is that going to help you? If, let's say you want to work with this triangle out here. Yeah, this is the same thing. If this is 50, then this is 130. Okay? You've got your supplementary going on there as well. So just always think of that whenever it happens. Supplementary is equal to 180. Okay. I'm going to ask you to try over the weekend. Okay? These types of questions take you to page 36. So homework, page 34 to 36. If you do 2 pages, I'm happy, right? Because it's 34, 35, 36. If you do 2 pages, I'll be like, okay, you tried it, you're good. If you want to do super well, go all the way to 36, right? That's it. You may start if you want. I'll post the key.